Hi, today we're going to talk about how brains make healthy boundaries. And I'm Rachel McLeod. I'm a mental health therapist, an emotional wellness coach, and a practitioner mentor. And I specialize in helping people do the brain work for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, traumatic stress. And also, too, in these situations, there's lots of boundary challenges. So, the brain, this same process helps the brain create and healthy boundaries and really adapt and install and upgrade and activate your own inner ability, your own natural ability to set boundaries. And your brain needs to do this for you. But it really can't if this process is blocked. So where I'm coming from is a place as a practitioner where I help people rebuild. I'm going to talk a little bit about the neuroscience involved, but a little bit because I'm in the practical, I'm one of the mechanics, get under the hood and shift things around and get the vehicle running again. So, and what I do is I help people with this brain process, get this brain process up and running. It can get shut down, and then we'll notice that our boundaries are lagging, that we'll be like, where was my boundary? People will be like, where are your boundaries? Right? So we're getting all this different feedback that our boundaries aren't functioning very well. And so that's a really great time to do this kind of brain work. And it is a different kind of brain work. It is not like talk therapy. We are working with different parts of the brain that will block this process from running. So, but I do want to dive in and we're going to talk about, I'm getting over COVID. So, but I've been past it, but the lingering effects. So you'll hear it in my voice. But so we're going to talk about how brains make healthy boundaries so that you know how to direct your brain and support your brain. More importantly, this is its job. You can yell at it, you can be angry with it and scream at it and demand that it make healthy boundaries for you, but if it doesn't get to go through its process for making healthy boundaries, you don't get them. And all you get is more self-hatred and more anger and more spirals like that. So we want to avoid that stuff, and we want to be effective. We want to work with you. Watch you start working with your brain in this way, it is so responsive to you. It will start building those boundaries. You will start seeing them. This is one of the things I'm looking for in my clients, and they inevitably start coming back to me and saying, I said no. Who knew? I never said no before. And seriously, there are situations where people have never said no. Or they did something and they held space for themselves to be included in a relationship. Sometimes we have habits and patterns of leaving ourselves out of relationships. This can start in early childhood because of neglect and emotionally unavailable parents for whatever reason. There's many reasons for that. And those patterns can begin then. And so what happens is the brain really doesn't get enough opportunity to build in. It doesn't get enough support to build the healthy boundaries. And so we have to do it now. And so we get to do it now because the brain is still happy to wire things in for us, new ways of being, new habits, new patterns. And we're going to help the brain through that process to create the healthy boundaries. So also this video, I'm making this video in response to someone's comment from my YouTube channel. They watched my Healthy Boundaries, It's a Brain Thing video, and they requested more videos on boundaries and that she would love more workable information on that. So that's what I'm intending to do here, is provide workable information. This is brain work. This is the brain work I guide people to do. This is very different than, I'm not going to give you willpower strategies. I don't want you working with that part of the brain for this, because your boundaries, when they are at their best, they are running from a subconscious program. And so when we use willpower, we're using our working memory, we're using choice, we're using our prefrontal cortex to direct our behavior, our thoughts to direct our behavior. That's exhausting and it's expensive. It can be a great pause. It can be a great part of the process, but it's not the one we want to rely. We want to get that moving into a subconscious program. And that's really where we want to do a lot of this work. Plus, the thinking center doesn't usually have difficulties making shifts and realizing, oh, we need healthy boundaries here. It's usually super, super fast. And but if it doesn't have the support of the body and the subconscious mind, it won't matter. As soon as you let go of the thought, your body and your subconscious programming will do whatever they're programmed to do. So in order for you, what we want you to do is be able to release it from your mind, and your body and your subconscious programming are still running the healthy boundaries functions for you. And that's really where the good stuff is. It's where all great athletes try to be, right? Where you can dribble the ball without thinking about it anymore. We can't have the athletes thinking about dribbling the ball. We want them to trust their mind and body to adjust and to be flexible and to move with the flow of the game. And that's what I want your brain to be able to do with the flow of life. I want you to be flexible and adaptive with the flow of life. And you're going to need more than just your thinking center on board with that. You're going to need your body and your subconscious mind. They have their own process for creating this, and they need support. They're designed to need support. And so that's a little piece of what we're talking about. Okay. But healthy boundaries, what we want to see your brain make for us is accurate boundaries. We want to see flexible boundaries. We want to see adaptable boundaries, even creative boundaries. That's a top brain kind of thing. We like that. And we want to see your brain make boundaries that are in response to you. Okay? Not your mother, not your tribe, not your grandparent, those two, right? But we want it to see it make boundaries for you, your preferences, your likes, your dislikes, your desires, your goals, your dreams. And your brain needs to be able to hold all that stuff together. Boundaries that are not fabulous, the brain can only hold one idea together. Like maybe it's, I need to be safe, right? That's not a good boundary because it's just not. We need more than safety. We need thriving. And so the more truths the brain can hold at the same time, the better the boundary will be. And to do this, we need the whole brain working together. And so we need to walk the brain through its process to do that. Because if there is pain or distress moving through your system, maybe from things that you're conscious of and maybe things that you're not conscious of. And a lot of the unconscious things will be stuff from early childhood or through childhood neglect or old patterns that were developed then that your brain has never been able to upgrade. As they move forward, if your survival system detects pain, it'll shift you into fight or flight instead of processing and adapting and changing and making things more rich. Instead, that fight or flight goes off. And that's a different pathway than growth, thriving, integration, holding multiple truths at the same time. That survival mode is only survival, is only how do we get out of here? How do we stay safe? How do we survive? Which is important if it's accurate. If you really need to survive, that's a wonderful thing. Your brain's doing exactly what it's designed to do. But there's a lot of stuff that the brain reacts to, especially after traumas, after a history of complex trauma, anxiety, depression, those types of things. There's a lot of things the brain is responding to that is danger that's not really danger. It got flagged as dangerous or painful early on, and that flag prevented it from getting past your survival system and going into the whole brain for processing, for insight, for analysis, right? All these nerdy brain functions, we want your brain doing that. But if we actually can't get that stuff past the survival system, it will never be reviewed. And so your brain can never use that information to adjust and adapt and activate your boundaries. And so what this looks like in practice for somebody with, let's say, domestic violence history, is that the boundaries, this domestic violence was so unsafe that your brain, every time it thinks back to it, it goes into a survival state about it. And so it's never able to process the data from that timeline, and so it never gets to create healthy boundaries from that information. So in the future, when there are other violent people, the boundaries never go off, the alarms never ring, and so the person will let that person in, as opposed to somebody else who did not have that history. The boundaries are going to go off, and you're going to naturally, easily stay out of the orbit of that violent person. So we need the brain to go through it and resolve those memories and analyze those memories, so it will create healthy boundaries for you and activate them. That way, even though you have a history of domestic violence, this goes for all the things. Neglect. If you have a history of neglect, it's more likely it's going to reoccur because your boundaries are off. They've been deactivated by the trauma. We need to get the trauma processed so your brain can not only activate the boundaries, but adapt them, make them fluid, have them running from subconscious programming, not hypervigilance. And so that's going to that your boundaries are going to be what go through your life now, and just keep those people out of your life that are going to neglect you, abuse you, be violent with you, those sorts of things. And so this is really, really important, and it is a natural side effect of trauma processing. It's a natural side effect of emotional distress processing. It's a natural side effect of painful experiences processing. Inner conflict resolution, a natural product. The healthy boundaries are a natural product of inner conflict resolution. Your brain's designed to do this for you. And these are things you can learn to help your brain with. This is a lot of what I'm walking people through in my program, Inner World Transformation. And I don't outline them exactly, so people are doing really high-level brain work and they don't know this. But I'm not trying to flood people with information. I want people to actually do the brain work, and then they say, oh my gosh, look at all these boundaries. I know, right? It's so exciting. That's really what this is really about, doing the work. You don't have to be smarter than your brain. You actually just have to help your brain complete its process for many of these issues going on inside of you, and then also outside of you, in your external world. And then naturally the brain makes healthy boundaries. Okay. Helping the brain make the boundaries responsive to you is something that the more you process inner conflict, the more you process childhood trauma, the more you process emotional distress, your brain is learning all about you. It's learning the painful things about you, like what you don't like. That's the information your brain will use to make your boundaries. It'll say, oh, we don't like that, so no, we're not going to do that. And you're going to find yourself saying no to the things you don't like more. And you're going to say yes to the things you like more, because your brain is reading and all this information about you, and it's adjusting and it's loading it into you on a subconscious level. If this stuff doesn't get processed, your brain will never know what you don't like and what was painful to you, and you are likely to repeat it because your brain has not figured it out. It hasn't gone through its process of learning about you. That's what healthy trauma processing is about. And that the natural result of that is healthy boundaries.